Hi, it's Kristen, and this is a real-time reading vlog. So what I mean by that is that I have a book that takes place overnight. The whole book takes place from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I believe. And so I'm going to attempt to read that book within that same time frame. The book is Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This is a book I got a while ago. I got it last year, pretty much as soon as it came out in paperback. I bought it. And I've been very excited to read it, but I've seen people do this challenge where they read it overnight in the time frame of the book. And I've always wanted to join in on that. But I thought if I did that, then I sort of wanted to film it, make it content, make it worthwhile staying up all night. But I've not had the opportunity because I live with my parents. I don't want to disrupt them at night by staying up and reading and filming. But they're away this week, and I've got like nothing going on today. I've got nothing going on tomorrow. So tonight is a good opportunity for me to read this. I will tell you my plan of like trying to stay up because I'm not a night owl. But I'll tell you about the book first. So this is about a girl called Red, and she is on a road trip with five of her friends. So there's six of them. And while they're on this road trip, their RV breaks down and there is a sniper. And so I believe they have to work out like what's going on, who the sniper is, what the sniper's motive is, and whether they can survive. And considering there's six of them, and the book is called Five Survive, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. So yeah, the book takes place over 8 hours, and so that is the time frame I'm going to attempt to read this in. It's not a great idea for me to do that because I don't do well staying up at night. I look back at my years in uni when I used to stay up until like 2, 3, sometimes 4 a.m. every night. And I honestly wonder how I did it because now I get to 11 p.m. and I'm ready for bed. I'm such an old person. I quite like an early morning, but I like a reasonable bedtime. I'm not one of those I'll stay up crazy late anymore. So I'm gonna need to put some provisions in place to keep myself awake this evening. So my plan is to not read in my bed because I think if I read in my bed, I will just be like, well, I could just lie down and read and then I'll fall asleep. I'm gonna take a nap this afternoon, I think, preemptively, also because I planned to have a really good night's sleep last night in anticipation of doing this, and then an alarm went off in my house at 5 a.m. and I really struggled to get back to sleep after that. So my sleep last night, this morning, was not great. So I think an afternoon nap. I think I'm gonna have dinner at a later time than I normally would, but before the time of the book, before 10 p.m. easily. And then I'm gonna set myself like little snacks that I can go to because I'm not sure they sort of chapter breaks look fairly evenly split. So every darker page, I think, is where there's like a chapter hour break. But also depending on how like tense and intense I'm finding the book, I'm thinking I might read certain chapters faster than others. So if I finish a chapter quicker than the next hour starts, like I can use that as toilet break, snack time, and sort of keep myself going. This, I'm going to just say now, full of spoilers. This vlog is going to be full of spoilers so I can fully talk about the book at each stage as I go along and discuss what's happening, my thoughts, my theories perhaps. But yeah, I'm just going to say it now. If you've not read this and you don't want spoilers, do not watch the rest of this vlog. If you have read this and you'd like to hear like other people's thoughts on it, then by all means continue watching. But yeah, I'm saying it at the top of this video. Spoilers abound. I'm just going to be talking about the whole book the whole way through. It's 10 p.m. I'm ready. This vlog is going to be full of terrible lighting because all my downstairs lighting is very dim. But I just finished the 10 p.m. section, which was the first few chapters. Each section, like each hour, looks like it's like 30 to 40 or so pages long, which is good because typically I can read about a page a minute. So that should mean that each hour in the book and each hour that I'm reading, I'm actually only reading for like 30 to 40 minutes, which means that I'll have some time in each hour to go to the loo, get myself a snack, get up and just move around a bit. Maybe at some point change into pajamas or just different clothes. I've got like a little leeway. Also, it gives me leeway in terms of I think I'm gonna be alright for the first like 2-3 hours, but after that, I feel like my reading will slow down because my concentration will go a little bit. Anyway, so far in the story, we have our main character Red, and she is on a road trip for spring break with her best friend Maddie, Maddie's older brother, his girlfriend, and then their friend Simon and Simon's friend Arthur. So those are our crew. We kicked off fairly quickly, so we got a bit of background about Red and like the dynamics in the friendships and the relationships with the characters. Red has got a sort of sad history. Her dad, it seems, is an alcoholic. Doesn't take great care of her. She's more the carer in their family. And her mother died a few years ago, it would seem, but don't know the circumstances yet. And we also know that Red doesn't have much money in respects compared to her friends. So there's that dynamic going on. It's not reading to me as easily. I mean, it's very easy to read, but it's not reading as, I don't know, engagingly, or I'm not as immediately into it as I was with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, also by Holly Jackson. That series pulled me in like straight away, and I really enjoyed the whole series. This hasn't immediately gripped me in the same way, but I am still only 30 or so pages in. And they have just gone off the route they were supposed to be going on. They've sort of lost where they are, they've lost phone signal, and they're pretty sure they've just blown a tyre. So things are really kicking off with the plot. So I've got 15 minutes until 11 p.m. until the next section starts. So I'm just gonna have a drink and I think check my Instagram and hope I don't get too distracted. So I will update you again when I guess it's like 11:45 and I finished the 11 p.m. section. Just finished the 11 p.m. section. Now they know that there is a shooter after them. They've blown out all the tyres in the RV and the gas tank, and they are stuck. I will say it's creeping me out a little bit, just on the premise of like someone out there in the dark shooting at you is creepy. I think if I was reading this in the daytime or in a house with other people, I wouldn't be freaked out. But being on my own at night, and I don't like the dark, so it doesn't feel great. This whole video may have been a mistake. I will say I do like at the front of the book, let me see if I can get it up. We have like a little layout of the RV, which I think is fun because it means I know what she's talking about when she's describing the RV and how they move from like one section to another. It means I can see exactly where that is and what that means. Yeah, I think 70 something pages into it, and I won't lie, I'm starting to feel tired. This is like the latest I would go to bed. I normally like head to bed, I don't know, between like 10:30 and 11, and then I'll like chill in bed for a little while and like read a bit of my book or just scroll on Instagram or YouTube. But I'd normally like go to sleep or like start trying to go to sleep 11 p.m. So it's 20 to 12. So by midnight, that's normally like my cutoff time of no, I really need to try and get to sleep now. But here I am, still awake with 6 hours ahead of me. Why have I done this? But I've started it now, so I've got to finish it. I've reached the 1 a.m. section. I am hungry and thirsty, so I'm gonna have some crisps and I think have a fizzy drink to see if like the sugar wakes me up a bit because I am tired. The characters are trying to work out a plan of what to do, how to get out of the situation. They're trying to work out like who it is that's doing it. The person has got in contact with them, so things have progressed. But yeah, sorry for this awful lighting. Yeah, snacks and drinks, and then back to reading. I'm halfway through. My goodness, I'm halfway through, which on the one hand is an accomplishment. On the other hand, I have 4 more hours of this. And the last few sections have actually been a little longer than the first couple, so I haven't had that break in between. But this next section, no, the section after this next section looks slightly shorter, so maybe I'll get a little break then. It's the quietness of my house that's now starting to get to me. Update on the book. Well, they've got a theory about what is going on and like why the sniper is doing this. But because they've come up with that theory, I'm assuming that theory is wrong. Because they think it's, well, Oliver thinks that it's because his mum's the DA and so they're like holding him and Maddie hostage. But because that theory is out there, I feel like that's not going to be what it is. I think my main issue with the book so far, it's keeping my attention and it's keeping the tension. But I feel like Oliver is, like, I know who he is as a character and I don't like him. And I know who Simon is as a character
all the other characters, I really don't get a full sense of them. Especially Red, our main character, I feel like I have the least sense of who she is, maybe. Although Rain is not a huge presence either, but I feel like in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Holly Jackson's other book, Pip was a very present main character, and I really got a sense of who Pip was, and like her motivations and why she acts the way she does. But with Red, I really don't get a sense of her in the same way. So that is my gripe with it so far. Yeah, I will update you at the 3 a.m. mark. Finished the 2 a.m. section. It's ended with them, well, the whole section was then thinking that they'd been bugged because a plan they tried went terribly wrong, or a plan that Oliver tried went terribly wrong. And so they were like, maybe they're listening to us, the sniper's listening to us. And they didn't find any bugs anywhere. And so Oliver has suggested that maybe one of them is working with the sniper. And I'm not gonna lie, I did have that thought. And if I had to say who, I would maybe say that it was Arthur. Because there's been a few instances where Red has thought he's just like nervous and awkward and fiddling with his jeans pocket. But it's been mentioned several times. And I'm like, is that just so that we know he is like an awkward character, or is that something? I may be entirely wrong, but I picked up on it. So, yeah, anyway. 3 hours to go. Although I keep thinking 3 hours to go, I finish at 6 a.m, but I don't. The last part starts at 6 a.m, so I reach 6 a.m. and I still have a whole chunk to read. Just finished the 3 a.m. section. Things are tense outside of the RV, obviously, with the threat of the snipers, but things have got very intense between the characters inside the RV as they reveal their secrets to each other. And we left off with Red saying, I have a secret. So I'm going to find out what that is in a minute. I've moved briefly. My hips and my back were hurting me from sitting on that sofa for so long because I'm old. So I decided to move briefly to my dining room table, which isn't comfortable to sit in, but has at least changed my posture. I'm also running out of memory storage on my phone camera, which I'm filming on. So I thought I'd connect it to my laptop, upload the clips that I've taken so far. Sort of, just be in this position for a little while, and then go back to the sofa to read the 4 a.m. section. So I've got the 4 a.m. section, the 5 a.m. section, which are both like pretty chunky. And then the 6 a.m. section I realised is actually only a few pages. So, and then I'm debating whether I actually go to bed or not, because I feel like I'm tired, but I've reached that point of being so tired that I'm not actually as tired as I was. I feel like I was more tired like midnight, 1 o'clock than I am now. But also think if I do just decide to stay up, then I'll hit like lunchtime and just crash. So I'm thinking maybe I do after reading the 6 a.m. section, attempt to go to bed for like a couple of hours. Because if I went to bed around like 6:30, you know, I could still get like 3 hours sleep. I'll be up at 9:30, and that's not like a crazy time to get up. I'm like an 8 a.m. get up kind of girl, unless I'm working, and then it's like 6:30. But yeah, if I went to bed at 6:30 and then got up at like 9:30, even 10. But yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see how I feel in 2 hours' time. I'll update you when I've read the 4 a.m. section. I'm looking at a clock up there. That's where my vision's going. I finished the 4 a.m. part slower than I would have liked because it's already nearly 5:15. So that section definitely took me longer to read, although I didn't get started at 4 because I like went to the loo and I got myself a glass of water and stuff like that, so I didn't start at the hour. You know how I said I was like so tired I'd come around to not being tired? That feeling's gone. I am so tired now, to the point where like my eyes have started going a little bit funny. Like I can't focus on the words as much. I've still got a whole like little chunk left, but this is the last big chunk because then the 6 a.m. section is short, so gotta power through this. I don't know what's going on or where this is going, and I don't know if I should. I don't know if other people are like, it's obvious, but I don't know if I super suspect Arthur anymore. I sort of started to suspect Maddie of something. Like I didn't know what, but I didn't trust her. But now she's just been put in a position where she is in total danger, so I don't understand. But there's got to be some sort of last twist or explanation. But yeah, things are wild. I hate Oliver. Oliver is the worst. But look, it's 5:15. I'm gonna finish the 5 a.m. section, then I will update you, and then we only have 6 a.m. to go. My goodness, I look tired now. I've just finished the 5 a.m. bit. It is 6:20 something. It's nearly 6:30, basically. So that bit took a lot longer to read, but it was very intense. Some of the stuff I predicted was correct. I thought something was up with Arthur and the fact that he was like putting his hands in his pockets all the time, and that was very much a thing. I thought there was something going on with Maddie, like she knew something, and I was right about that. And then when there was a reveal of like who was behind the death of Red's mum, I like clocked onto it, and then a couple of pages later it was revealed. So I basically got all my guesses of like who was behind things or like people having something going on. My guesses of the people correct, but I didn't necessarily guess like why or what fully was going on. But it all comes down to like organized crime which I'm never a fan of in stories in general, like TV, film, books. I don't like organized crime, mafia storylines. It just doesn't interest me personally. So it's like a little eh. One of those things where like the premise of the book is great, and like I don't know where it would have gone if it wasn't an organized crime unit like behind this. But yeah, I love the premise of 6 friends stuck in an RV. There's a sniper out there, but the actual like who done it, not so interesting to me. So I've got the 6 a.m. bit to go. The 5 a.m. bit ended wildly with like several people dead/dying. So I guess I'll find out who actually is for reals he's dead. And then I'll update you after I've read the 6 a.m. bit. It is 6:40 a.m. The birds are chirping, the sun is rising. I recently, like 5 minutes ago, finished the 6 a.m. section of 5 Survive, which was like mixed media. We had like a police radio call transcript, a news article, and a letter, and that was all it was. So it was very quick to read. Reminded me a bit of like how Good Girls Guide to Murder was, because that was very mixed media. So yeah, I'm done with this. I will do like a proper full thoughts update when I have some better lighting, when the sun is fully up, and when I've like sat with my thoughts for a bit, I guess. I am going to attempt to go to sleep for like a few hours now. I think I'm going to set an alarm for like 10 a.m. to see if I can get, 3 hours sleep or something. And then, I don't have to do anything necessarily tomorrow. I have stuff I want to do, like going for a run and stuff around the house, but I don't have to do anything. So I do think when I do wake up, I will at least spend the morning just chilling on the sofa. See, if you can hear that, that's the boiler coming on in the morning for like when it heats the house for when we normally wake up. The problem is my room doesn't have blinds. The blinds I did have in my room were terrible and they broke and they like wouldn't go up and down properly, so I just got rid of them. So I'm gonna have to like, I don't know, hang a blanket or my dressing gown or something in my window so that I don't fall asleep in like rising sunlight, or attempt to fall asleep but actually have the sun come fully out in like half an hour and then be immediately woken up by daylight. So anyway, I'm gonna try and get some sleep. I will update you with full thoughts and you will find out if I manage to get any sleep. But for now, I'm in my PJs and I'm ready for bed. Time for my final thoughts on 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I finished reading this at 6:30 a.m. yesterday, and then I did actually go to bed. I went to bed at about 6:45 until 10 a.m. and then I got up and actually was fine for the rest of the day. Like all I did was chill on the sofa and watch like Anne with an E and then some movies. But I didn't actually feel that tired throughout the day, which is good. I feel quite tired today, but I've
got up, walked into work, been to work, just walked home from work. So today has been a busier day, so I feel like now it's catching up with me a bit. But yes, I did get some sleep after reading this, and I wanted to just leave it like an extra full day before I shared my thoughts, because I wanted to, yeah, just like let my thoughts ruminate a bit. I liked this. Even though I was very tired, enjoyed the experience of reading it in like real time. I did say to my sister, she was like, was it worth it to do it? And I was like, I don't know, because I definitely feel like the experience of reading it in my house alone at night really like lent to the atmosphere of the book, because when she was like, oh, we can't see outside because it's dark and we can't contact anyone because it's nighttime and we have no cell service and stuff, it made me be like, oh, my house is very secluded at night, and like that was fun. And I do think the idea of it being at night and me reading it at night was very fun, and again lent to the whole, what, I don't know, what would I be like at 3 a.m. having to deal with the situation they're in. Obviously they'd have a lot of adrenaline and stuff, but she was like, I don't even feel tired, and I was reading it like, I do. So it was fun, but I did say to my sister, like, I don't think I don't think it's necessary to read it in that way. I think reading it in real time actually is great, in terms of like reading it in the time frame, the 8 hours, because it did keep me reading, and I was wanting to find out what was going to happen next and stuff like that. But I said to my sister, like, you could do 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. if you wanted to read it in the same time frame. Just switch it from all night to all day, and that's a lot healthier to do. But reading it in the 8 hours was very fun. So if you like did have a whole day free, I think that is worth doing, because it had tension, I think, throughout mostly, and did, yeah, keep me reading, kept me wanting to find out like what was going to happen next, what was actually going on, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, reading it in the time frame was good. I also just felt great having like finished a whole book, and not even like a very thin book, in a whole night. Made me feel accomplished. So that was cool. In terms of like not the experience of reading it, but the actual like book and its contents, I do think it had good tension. I think it takes, I don't know, it takes a little while to get into it, but it does also pick up quite quickly. So I've just contradicted myself. I've seen other people say it had a very slow start, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the first like chapter is a bit like odd to get through. There was just something about the way it's written as well. I think because our main character has, well, now I've seen some people say they really think from their like personal feelings and their experiences that the main character could potentially have some form of like ADHD, because she has very distracted thoughts throughout. She's like thinking about one thing and then she just thinks about something else really random, completely unrelated, and then she's like, what was I even supposed to be doing? And then she'll think about something else. And so I've seen a lot of people who have ADHD say that they found her very relatable in that respect. So I think once you get used to reading her having these thoughts that just sort of go all over the place, then it's easier to read the rest of the book once you're used to that sort of narrative style. I thought that like each chapter for the most part ended with something that like wanted to keep me reading, some sort of hook. So that was good. I think Holly Jackson writes good tension. Obviously you have the the main tension of the scenario of there being a sniper outside, but she writes like interpersonal character relationships and tension within that very well. While you do have the sniper outside, and the question is like, are they gonna kill them? What do they want? Who is it? You have the tension of the group, like not trusting each other or just arguing because of the stressful situation. Certain people trying to like take charge, like Oliver being like sort of falling into this leadership role, and they all sort of let him. But then like the further on it goes, when he maybe isn't having such great ideas, if anyone challenges him on it, then he's very much like, I am the leader. And so that's really interesting to see how things kind of fall apart within their group in super questionable and worrying ways. That is also something I think Holly Jackson does well. She writes arsehole guys very believably. Like in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, we have Max Hastings, who just belongs in prison. Just an awful person. And then Oliver Lavoy in this, also just terrible, like such a shitty guy. Hated him. But was, I think, well written. I think I said at some point that I really got a sense of who he was, and I quite got a sense of who Simon as character was, but I didn't really get a sense of the others. I do think that Arthur and Red, our main character, I did by the end have more of a sense of who they were. I think they grew as characters even throughout this small thing. I think there's obviously reasons why we didn't know everything about Arthur to start with, because he's got some reveals to his character. And Red, I think, definitely developed when we find out more about her throughout the story and things that she's maybe not been talking about in her past. So I do think they grew. Maddie, I never really cared about Maddie, I won't lie. I was never really fussed about her as a character. I never really got a strong sense of who she was, other than that she just sort of blindly did what her brother said a lot of the time. I liked Raina, but again, I didn't get a great sense of who she was. Like, she seemed cool, but there wasn't much to her. So, in such a small cast of characters, I wasn't that fussed about any of them. And the ones that I did have the strongest feeling about, Oliver, I hated him. So, like, I was rooting for Red, but I wasn't that invested in her personally, like, as a person. I was more invested in the story, which is not my usual thing. I'm more like, I need to be invested in the character to care about the story. So that was like my slight issue with it. Another thing I think Holly Jackson does well is that she'll have like a few twists and turns. It won't just be like one big reveal. It'll be like little elements throughout, and so I think that's always fun, because even if you like guessed point A, you didn't necessarily guess point C or whatever, which I think is fun. There are a couple of things that didn't get answered in this. There's like a whole thing throughout where Red is like
trying to work out what the print of the curtains reminds her of, and I thought that was going to come into play, or it was going to like end with her being like, it was X, but it didn't, so, which kind of irritated me. And there was also a bigger thing of when they were voting on whether Red should go outside or not, when they realised it was like potentially something to do with her, the sniper. And 2 people voted yes, that she should go outside. And we know that one of those was Oliver, but we don't know who the other one is. And you never find out. But I think that's quite fun, in that reading the reviews, like some reviews on Goodreads and stuff, people seem to have different theories and different ideas, and I think that is quite fun and makes it like more sinister in a way, that like even within her group of friends, like someone betrayed her in a big way and was like willing to let her die, and we just never know who that is. So yeah, that was fun. Would I recommend it? Yes, I think if you like YA thrillers, I mean, if you've watched this, you know you know a lot of the plot and a lot of the spoilers, but I would recommend this for people who like YA thrillers. I think if you loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, you will like this. I don't think, in my personal opinion, that it lives up to what A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was, but I think this is a decent follow-up. And I'm excited for, is it the reappearance of Rachel Price, which is her newest book that's coming out this year. So I'm excited to see if that's more like this or more like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I do think it was good as well, in that it was, you know, had a few downbeats to it, but a lot of like action ramping back up. At the beginning, there's a layout of the RV and a little map of the route they were taking, which is fun, and definitely helped me visualise, because there were some moments where I was like, if I didn't have that map, I don't know what I would be picturing the layout of the RV as. And so when they were like, we stood in the door and we like moved this thing, I think I would have been slightly confused. But that's just me. Although there were a couple of things that I just was a bit like, when they were setting up a plan to like try and confuse the sniper and stuff, I just couldn't quite picture what they were doing. And I've seen other people say that, and so that's another slight issue with it, that there's like a whole thing with them, a mirror, and they were trying to like use a reflection to make it look like someone was leaving the RV, and I just couldn't quite picture exactly what they were doing. Because like I get that idea, but then they were like, we attached like mop handles to it to maneuver it, and they lost me briefly, Holly. But yes, I'm looking forward to more from Holly Jackson. I think I will always pick up a Holly Jackson book. I think she's great because she's not afraid to make her characters do terrible things, in this and the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. She writes really great morally grey characters who have like questionable histories, or do super questionable things, or just downright illegal things, but that she can still make you root for certain people like that. But yeah, so anyway, this was a fun experience. I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!